What else could be said about the 3DS and Wii U? One had a rough start, but has since flourished. The other had a rough go its whole lifespan, only now gaining some much-deserved praise. All good things must come to an end. Isn't that what we're often told? If there's one thing that's constant, it's that change is inevitable. Sometimes that change is bringing something to a close, something that seems far superior to what was made to replace it. The eShop isn't only easier to say without abbreviating it, it's also more robust, offering a wider variety of games that you could choose to buy individually, instead of having to opt into a tiered subscription service. As the night closes in on the eShop, it makes one wonder, will something like this ever exist again? Let's get real here. The eShop closures aren't going to affect us all that much. People who have these consoles have already modded them or are planning to do so. So getting these lost games won't be all that bad because there are ways to get them. What it really means is that Nintendo is officially leaving them behind. The most devastating thing about all this is that it's for two platforms. And for me, these two consoles are what I relied on for gaming. I've mentioned many times that I played my 3DS on various flights around the US for work. I also played it at home. These small play sessions are something I really liked and still like doing. I used to fill my days with hours of A Link Between Worlds, Ocarina of Time 3D, Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D, Metroid Samus Returns, Super Mario 3D Land, and many others. The 3DS has some sort of magic about it. Even just holding it feels special. It's designed to be carried around. Having the folding design makes it unbelievably easy to travel with. Opening it and hearing the hinges snap into place gets me in the mood for some gameplay. The DS and 3DS lineage will end here. There's nothing else like these two consoles, and there most likely never will be, unless someone like Analog makes one, which I would buy in a heartbeat. We've seen Nintendo kind of forget about these consoles in recent years. They don't conform to the Switch's console design. The dual screens make it difficult to put these games on the Switch. I would love to see Nintendo come up with some innovative way to get them running on it. Maybe have the screen vertical or place them side by side. I don't know, anything to make it function. I would even take ports if that's the only thing Nintendo would be interested in doing. It wouldn't be ideal having to pay for those games again, but I have already done that with all the games Nintendo ported from the Wii U to the Switch. The 3DS Virtual Console was something I didn't expect from Nintendo when I bought my 3DS. Being able to play some of my all-time favorite NES, Game Boy Color, Sega Genesis, Game Gear, and Super Nintendo games on the go became one of my favorite things about the 3DS. I spent so much time playing them on my free time. I replayed Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3, Mario World, Mario Kart, Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3. There were some games I played for the first time, like Super Metroid and A Link to the Past. Though I only started and didn't finish Super Metroid on the 3DS, I did make it to the end on A Link to the Past. It was as great as everyone said it was. I did eventually beat Super Metroid on my new 2DS XL, but that was much later than when I first played it on my 3DS. The first game I downloaded from the eShop was Punch-Out! I had played it a year prior on an actual NES. I couldn't believe I had skipped it for so long. Though I never made it to Mr. Dream, I loved the fight trying to get there. I replayed Link's Awakening DX, which was the first time I played Link's Awakening in color. I had only ever played it on the original Game Boy. It blew me away with how great it was. I knew it was good, but it was really good. Exceptional even. I got stuck in a lightning storm at the Denver airport one night, and I played Link's Awakening to pass the time while we waited to take off. After 2 hours, we had to refuel and we were on our way. It was a similar situation I had when I played A Link Between Worlds, when I was stuck on the runway for a few hours after we landed, because a giant snowstorm had hit the area. I loved that kind of thing because it gave me extra playtime before I had to drive home. The 3DS was like an extension of me. There has never been another console that has ever been like that for me. I took it everywhere. It's so easy to pack in my backpack and have it ready whenever I need it. It's been there whenever I've wanted to play something. Another great thing about the 3DS is that it kept the DS lineage going. It's backwards compatible with almost every DS game. This turned out to be amazing. I wouldn't have ever played Contra 4 or Mario Kart DS. Contra 4 is awesome and rekindled my desire to play more Contra games. If it weren't for the 3DS, I most likely never would have played it. But the 3DS isn't the only console that kept DS games alive. That's what made the Wii U such an innovative console. It was like having a giant DS console. The TV acted like the top screen, and the lower screen was on the gamepad. There were other play schemes that also worked well. Though, I was always curious as to why Nintendo never made something that could play 3DS games on it. It could have been great, like having a modern Super Game Boy, just with the Wii U instead of the Super Nintendo, and the 3DS instead of the Game Boy. 3DS? I can't believe they didn't do that. The Wii U could do much more than just play DS games though. It also played Game Boy Advance, NES, Super Nintendo, N64, and Wii games, and it played them really well, with exception to NES games. Those looked bad. I'm surprised they never cleaned them up. Other than that, I think the other systems looked really nice. Though, in all fairness, comparing them to the Switch, I think the Switch makes them look better, which is how it should be. These games should be improving with every new Nintendo console. What hasn't improved though is how we get access to these games. On the Wii U, they were available to buy individually. You could choose what you wanted for one price, and then you have them for as long as the console functions. This model was introduced on the Wii and carried over to the Wii U. The 3DS also had this model. Compared to what we have now, I look back and envy my old self for having that option. It's cool that we have a big pool of games that we can play however many times we want with a yearly fee, but that's what gets me. They are only rentals. If you don't keep up with the yearly payment, they're gone until you cough up more money. But what's even worse is the expansion pack. Getting access to N64, Game Boy Advance, and Genesis games now costs even more money every year. I still haven't paid for this service, and to be honest, I haven't felt like I've missed much. I would like to play the Game Boy Advance games, but not for the price that Nintendo is asking me to pay for them on a yearly basis. That's what's so great about the Virtual Console. Pick what games you like, skip the ones you don't care for, and pay once for them. Then play them as many times as your heart desires. That's something I can get behind, which I did on 3 Nintendo systems. But the best part about having these games on the Wii U is that Nintendo let us remap our buttons for each game, and they seriously let us remap them. Not this weird system settings remapping like we have on the Switch. This feature should come standard with every new console. Nintendo was really trying with the Wii U. When it was proving to be a dud, they were at least trying to do things to entice people to buy their console. Most people overlooked it. Many of them didn't even know what it was, and that seriously happened all the time. For me, the Wii U was my primary home console. Even though I owned a PS4 and Xbox One, the Wii U had the games I wanted to play most of the time. Nintendo made incredible games for the Wii U. They were so good that they were able to re-release them on the Switch, sell them for more money than they were originally on the Wii U, and get away with it. That could also be because this was the first time people were playing those games. Only Nintendo fanboys like me played them on the Wii U. That's what the internet has told me anyway. I played Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Mario Kart 8, Super Mario 3D World, New Super Mario Bros. U, Hyrule Warriors, Bayonetta 2, and Captain Toad Treasure Tracker years before most people would ever play them on the Switch. It was crazy seeing the hype for these games when they came out on the Switch, when I and many others had been trying to tell people how great they were all along. When Nintendo ported those games over to the Switch, I had some severely mixed feelings. On one hand, I was really excited to have another way to play those games with the added benefit of playing them portably. As many of you know, I travel a lot for work, so having a portable system is absolutely necessary. Being able to play some of my favorite Wii U games on the go was amazing. I was so happy that more people were going to be given a chance to play them. They were all great games that deserved to be played by more people. On the other hand, I felt a little betrayed. I spent my money on these games when they were on the Wii U. I supported that system, and here they were giving me the same games to play, instead of making something new or adding another entry into the franchise. It was kind of a slap in the face. At least I got the Ambassador Program games when Nintendo decided to drop the price of the 3DS as a roundabout apology. I got to pay for the same games again or play Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey on repeat, which I could have happily done, but still, that wasn't cool and they know it wasn't cool. The reason why it wasn't a big deal for people with a Switch is because they never had a Wii U or those games. I guess the small group that supported Nintendo during those dark times didn't really mean that much to them after all. I think that's part of why the Wii U means so much to me. It was like being part of something amazing that nobody paid attention to. No matter how many people you tried to tell, nobody took it to heart. All I heard about was how great the PS4 was and how the original Xbox One looked like a VCR. I had both of those, and I can attest that the PS4 is a really good console with fun games. And yes, the original Xbox One looked like a VCR. That also has fun games. But the Wii U was something else. The Wii U was the place where I played Wind Waker and Twilight Princess for the first time. These are amazing Zelda games that were remastered in HD for the Wii U. I couldn't believe I had the original games sitting on my shelf and I had never given them a try. I'm so glad Nintendo decided to give them a second life on the Wii U. If they hadn't, I most likely still wouldn't have played them. I'll never forget playing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze for the first time. Being absorbed into that world was magical. I remember getting to Seabreeze Cove, playing through all the water-themed levels, finally getting to Irate 8. I played this level over and over, progressing slowly late into the night. The soundtrack, controls, and frustration were an almost play-by-play of my first playthrough of the original Donkey Kong Country, which happens to be my favorite game of all time. Thanks to the Wii U, I got to have that same experience as an adult. I'm still crossing my fingers that we get another Donkey Kong Country game. I had fallen back in love with the series on the Wii when Retro made Donkey Kong Country Returns. Even if I hadn't picked up a Wii U by then, I would have gone out and bought one for Tropical Freeze. The Wii U built upon what the Wii did, brought it back down to reality with the gamepad and its standard button layout, and kept the Wii's legacy going. This thing has a Wii mode that functions exactly like a Wii console. You could even buy Wii Virtual Console and WiiWare games on it. This was big for me because I had just gotten back into gaming with the Wii. Having a way to play those games on the newest Nintendo console, with the added bonus of playing them over HDMI, was everything I could have asked for. The eShop closures aren't really about losing the games that the storefronts offer. It's the official end of these consoles' lives. Nintendo is leaving them behind and moving forward. The 3DS and Wii U contrasted each other perfectly. One had a rough start, but has since flourished. The other had a rough go its whole lifespan, only now getting some of the limelight. The 3DS was like an extension of my person, always with me and ready to be played. The Wii U quietly sat at home and gladly booted up and gave me some of the best gaming experiences I've ever had. They are officially coming to an end, but they aren't really ending. These consoles will continue to go on and do things Nintendo never imagined they would.